kind of a generic thing for all the tools that we work with is never adjust anything while it's plugged in or there's a battery in it. So that goes for everything. So I won't say that, oh, we do this for that, this for that. That's for everything. Always wear your protective eyewear. That goes for all the tools, no matter what it is in the shop or at home or anything. Some you might want to do wear ear protection, but I don't think we have a tool that's loud enough to warrant ear protection. Maybe a handheld grinder, but we haven't done those yet. So definitely when you adjust everything, make sure it's unplugged. The saw, this saw in particular, the way we have it set up, the cord is here, but there's an extension cord that runs along and is coiled up over there, and it plugs in above Bobby's head. So if I'm here at the saw, you can tell if it's plugged in or not. And you can look to the sides, and there's no plugs over here, but you'll be able to see if it was plugged in. So I know it's not plugged in, so I can do what I'm going to do. I'm not going to cut my hand off. So this particular shop tool is probably one of the most dangerous in the whole shop. If you're afraid of it, you're probably going to hurt yourself. You got to respect it, but don't be afraid of it. And I'll show you some things that will get you in trouble if you stand too far back from it or you're not sure of yourself. So, but with practice, it's no big deal. Get a piece of wood here, unplugged. We're going to adjust it. We're going to cut this piece of wood. You want to raise the blade so it's just barely above the piece of wood. There's no exact measurement, just so it's above the piece of wood. It does two things. It limits kickback, which I'll show you how that happens. Probably one of the, besides cutting yourself, one of the worst things that can happen on the saw. And also, if you happen to get your hand somewhere and the fingers go across, it's not like the blade's this high and you're gonna do some serious damage. You're still gonna hurt yourself, but it might only, take a little bit off your finger. So you set the blade up so it's just barely at the top. And then you make your adjustment, whatever you're gonna do, measure. And then the fence lock on this one is over here. You push down and it locks the fence. Some others, it twists in the front, but make sure you lock the fence down, because if you don't, and you're using it, you might see how I can push it over, and that is gonna get you in trouble. So, lock the fence down, then you can turn it on, the switch right here, and push your piece through, and the blade's got to be sharp too. That's another safety thing. If you have to force the piece of wood in there, you're gonna hurt yourself. And it should go just like that. It should just be that easy, just like that, as I'm pushing it through right now. If it starts to smoke, or you really have to push it, stop, because the blade is dull and you have to change the blade. They come with a miter square. In my opinion, I throw it away. I never look at it again. I use it for my bandsaw. You push it through, that's fine, something like this, but if you have anything longer, it tends to want to do this. And you can grab it with both hands and go like this, and the waist piece isn't trapped, so it can do its thing. But I found a safer way is just make something like this up real quick. Once you make the box and it's square, you put it in the slot and you raise the blade up and you push it through. So now you have a larger style of that, and it's, in my opinion, it's a lot safer because you can put the piece of wood and you can hold it back here. with both hands like this, and you push it through, and then move the cut piece over like that, pull it back. Same rule applies though. Never let go of this because it can still lift up, but it works really great as long as you're pushing down on it. As long as you have control over it and you're pushing it, it's fine. I've seen guys, and it's up to folks, and it's not a bad thing, they take a pencil. If you're doing real small stuff, like this, if you were cutting a small piece of wood like this, which is great for this, you can take and you can hold it like this. It's going to be a small piece, but then you can hold the waste with the eraser or the pencil like this and push it through, and then push the waste off to the side and then pull it back through. And then you don't have that little piece rattling around with the potential of flying back at you. You have control over it. So that's basics for the table saw. Everybody thinks is the safest is drill. Still works for food. So I know nobody hardly sees these anymore. You tighten the chuck with a key, and these are the battery operated ones, which are all over the place. The smaller the drill, the better you can manhandle them, of course. I could probably stop this by just putting my hand on it like that. The bigger you go, and this corded one right here, the good rule of thumb is the drill, something has to turn, whether it's the drill bit, the drill, or the piece you're working on. Something's going to turn, and you're not going to stop it the bigger you go. So never, well, let me show you what happens. So this right here, I broke this with this, throwing a small piece of metal, and as you can see, the pieces that came out are extremely sharp. And it didn't take anything at all with this right here. So you have to have respect for the drill. Don't rush with it. And I'm not going to go into the gory details of things I've seen that have happened to people. But make sure your work is secure. Don't take a piece of wood and hold it like this and try to drill like this, because if for some reason whatever you're working on, plastic, wood, whatever, the drill gets jammed up in it and you got a good hold of the drill or something like this, this is going to turn and it's going to rip right out of your hands like that, and it could come around and smash your thumb. So if you can,
or worse.
Yeah, or worse is right. You got to make sure you clamp it down, no matter how small it is. This is probably not going to do too much damage, but the good rule of thumb is treat all the drills the same, and you won't get hurt. Put a clamp on it. When you drill, it's going to turn clockwise, so it's going to want to turn everything you're drilling clockwise. So if you have an immovable object, a lally column, I don't know, a post or something like that, you can put what you're drilling up against the immovable object in this corner, so that way when it binds up, it's not going to take it and flip it around. It's got something to stop against. Clamp it. Stand on it. It's another good one. You can always stand on what you're working on. Get up on the bench, put your foot down on it, and drill through. Usually when you have your problem, it's going to be metal, wood. Unless the bit is really, really dull and it grabs, I think you're going to be in trouble. This in particular, all the ones that use a chuck key to tighten, make sure it's unplugged, because the chuck key, when it gets in there, see, that's in there and you're doing this, and you hit the thing and turn it on by accident, this is gonna grab it, and it might, this right here could pinch my finger right like that. So that's why you wanna make sure these are always unplugged, drill presses, before you tighten the chuck up. These, of course, don't have that, it's a friction one, so.
A lot of your corded IRPM tools like that too have broken people's wrists, sprained wrists, broken thumbs.
I was out for a few days when we were putting that ladder on Plymouth.
Yep.
Twisted on me.
Yep.
We're hanging up like this, trying to put it into the cement.
Yep, something, there you go, something's gotta turn. Yep, my dad always said that.
So I spun around for like 3 hours.
I watched it. What are you doing up there? So, drill, what is another, this is another killer. In the good old days, these are really bad, but when you use the skill saw, what I like to do, make sure it turns off, plug it in, make sure everything's good to go and stuff like that, and I usually hold it up like this, out of the way of everything, and try it. And make sure when I let go of the trigger, it stops, or it comes to a stop if it doesn't have a brake. Because if that doesn't work, and you put it down like this, and it's still gonna go, it's gonna go, just like a car. And it's gonna go in a big circle and hit and tumble, and it's not good. So I always make sure that it stops on its own before I use it. This right here, all of them, they throw tons of chips. The blade works this way, so it's good because the work you're cutting, it's pulling the saw down to it because of the way the blade goes. It comes from the bottom and comes up, but it also throws all the chips back up at you. This melanite is really bad. It's not like regular wood chips. It's like get hit the face with a bunch of iron and gravel. So different materials. It's really bad. Also, be careful how you're cutting. I have done this. You'll run over your own extension cord if you don't watch where this is, and you're cutting a piece of wood, and the extension cord just happens to be flopped and maybe laying around like that. You'll run right over it and cut it in half, and you'll stop and you'll be like, what the heck? And then there'll be no pull.
That's another tool too, where the depth of the blade makes.
Exactly. So this one is the same way but opposite. When you do it, you want to make sure that there's just enough sticking out of the bottom and not too much. That's pretty much this one. This is because of the how much the blade sticks out of the bottom. If you're not careful, it can, like I said, it can run over a cord, or if you happen to have your finger close by or something like that, you're not thinking, it's, that's gonna be bad.
I know a lot of carpenters take that gate off.
The guard?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good either. This, I think, has taken more fingers off in the world than a table saw. This, there's no blade depth setting. You're the blade depth setting. It's nice to use. It goes in all different directions and stuff. You just have to be careful of where your hand is when you're cutting pieces of wood. Your fingers, because a lot of people, it's so easy to hold a piece of wood and have your finger just enough in the way. And this blade guard right here, if it's a skinny piece like this, see how it's not even touching my thumb. It would be a nice reminder if this kind of touched you and you knew your finger was in the wrong spot. But unfortunately, they're not made like that. So this one, you always have to think, where your finger is. Sometimes I hold it with my thumb in, like this, so I can't have it sticking out. But I have a rule of thumb too. I don't go past a certain point if I'm holding something. That's it. And this one too, for all of them, there's an available place for a clamp to sit. So you can put a stop here. If you do use this end as a stop, this side, you have to make sure you hold the piece, because it's just like the table saw. You're trapping a piece in between the stop and the saw. So if you use this side as a stop, which I don't recommend, you have to hold the waste piece. The best way to use it is to put the stop on this side, and then you can hold the piece you're cutting, and the waste piece can do what it wants to. You don't have to worry about it, it's not trapped in anything. So you always gotta make sure, if you're a lefty and you wanna cut like this, then make sure that you're holding this piece and your stop is at this end. And if you're a righty, make sure the stop is here and you're holding this piece. Don't trap anything in between the stop and the saw if you don't have control. Yeah.
Compound angles.
Hmm?
That does the angles too. Angle cut,
Yes, this does all sorts of,
angles.
yeah, this does angle cuts. It goes side to side. I can't think of, this one you can cut small pieces, big pieces. Oh, on this one though, most chop saws, you just have, it chops the piece of wood like this. This one actually comes out, and either you can push in and go this way, which I find it's the best, because the blade is turning into the fence to hold it to the fence. But if you start in and go like this, and you're not paying attention, or the blade is dull, it could grab the piece of wood and go like that on you and go out. You don't want that happening. So I like to suggest, if you have a wide piece of wood, bring it all the way out, do your plunge cut, and then push it away from you, because you're using more effort and you're holding onto it better as you're pushing away from you. Any questions so far? Anybody have any input or anything like that?
All I have is funny stories, Jack.